this year, a phrase in Afrikaans became really popular. Hule weet nie wat ons weet nie. You'll have pardoned my Afrikaans, but I think it roughly translates to they don't know what we know.
Oh.
You grew up in Transkei, one of the homelands of South Africa.
Yes.
You just act like you know about this phrase.
I know. I was like, what is he talking about?
Transkei is popularly known as the birthplace of legends like Trevor Noah's grandmother and this man named Nelson Mandela. I want to start with your childhood and your teenage years.
Okay.
When you look back now, what are some memories that stand out to you about growing up in Transkei in South Africa and one of the homelands?
Yes.
When you look back, what do you know that the rest of the world doesn't know?
First of all, the Transkei is a really beautiful, it's a beautiful area in South Africa. Like the Transkei's got these rolling hills and the most beautiful rural, it's got a very rural feel to it, but they also have these coastlines, which are just so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not like pristine beaches. They're like very rustic beaches, but they're so beautiful. Like you haven't seen beaches like that anywhere in the world. They're very unique and very unique to the Transkei and the Eastern Cape and that part of South Africa. So growing up in the Transkei was very, like we would do all these day trips to like these beautiful places in the Transkei, which no one really talked about because it was a birthplace for a lot of freedom fighters during apartheid. Yeah. And it was very politically charged, that area, because it was a homeland. But it was also very beautiful nature-wise. So what was the question?
Yeah, memories about childhood memories. What is it like growing up?
So I really enjoyed the Transkei because while it was part of apartheid South Africa, it was also a homeland, right? Which means that the homeland it was for the Black people and it was for the non-white people. So I didn't feel when I was in the Transkei, I didn't feel I didn't go through the apartheid that many people outside of the Transkei went through. It was different over there. I'm not saying there wasn't racism. There was definitely racism. There were white people there, so there was racism. But it wasn't as, I don't know what it was like growing out of South Africa. I mean, out of Transkei in South Africa, where there were a lot more rules. The only thing for me is like we couldn't leave the Transkei without a passport. It's like Palestine, Israel. Like you have to go through border posts to get. So you were treated as second-class citizens if you were not white. So you had to go through border patrols. I remember that. And
there was an incident where two policemen had shoved you outside a shop as well.
Did I tell you this?
Yeah, you did.
How did you find out the story?
I've got my spies everywhere.
I do too many podcasts.
But the point, your life is out there.
Yeah, my life is out there.
But yeah, the point being, I guess that.
Yes. That was not the Transkei, but that was outside the Transkei.
No, so you going on a road trip with your family. I was going on a road trip
to Cape Town, and then we stopped over in this place, and then I remember, I was so young. I must have been like 5 or 6, and we went to the shop, and my parents bought whatever they needed, and then I wanted a chocolate. So they left the shop, and then I ran outside saying, "Dad, I want this chocolate." And these two huge, like Afrikaans, like Dutch, South African men, like policemen, just like they shoved me back in, like they pushed me back in, and like as if I was trying to steal something. I remember, and my dad getting so upset with me because he was like, you can't do that here. You are not allowed to do that here. They will think you're a thief. They will use that against you in this country. So I remember him being upset, not because I did that, but because of the repercussions I could have faced by doing that. Yeah.
I definitely want to pick your brains on this. So just for some context, your family moved to Transkei because one day your mom was shopping and she bumped into this ophthalmologist who used to work in Transkei. And then she wanted to leave her job. Your father wanted to leave India. He was an ophthalmologist, so he ended up replacing her. And your family became one.
Did I tell you this?
Yeah, today is the first time we met, but you have written me letters in the past telling me your entire life.
Where did you
maybe you just blanked out. Who knows? Okay, so the point I was making was your family became one of the only Indian families to move to South Africa in the 80s because India was boycotting South Africa at that point.
One of the only Indians from India at that period, yeah.
Notoriously, Gandhiji's granddaughter started sending you groceries and stuff.
Yes. But how cool is that?
You mentioned something very interesting. A lot of immigrant parents are often worried that their kids will lose touch with their roots. But you said in a previous interview that your parents actually wanted you to assimilate with the white South African culture because they thought that would be the best way for you to climb up the ranks. What I want to get your thoughts on is you've shared in the past that you vividly remember the day that your school, which had all white students, suddenly got black students as well.
Yes.
But
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm just taken aback by the research you've done. Like, this is amazing.
This is your life.
I know,
you're
but
acting surprised like, wow.
I'm like, where did you get this information? I mean, I know I say this shit all over the place, but well done to you for like all this research.
Before you began, you asked me what's behind that door. But now when you actually open that door, maybe this is like a 20-year plan.
Yeah.
I've got your picture.
I like my parents like behind that door. Like just everyone I've known from my childhood.
Have you watched the movie Dar? Shah Rukh Khan's?
Yeah, but I forgot.
Kiran and all. He's got like giant posters.
Oh, yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
the threads.
Yeah. So that's okay. Sorry, so continue.
That's all that's behind the door. Anyway,
okay, you've mentioned this
he was an inspiration. Yeah. Maybe the third time it's going to be true. Yeah. Okay, but back to the question. Even though you were young, you were around 10 when the apartheid was abolished. Was it apparent to you, even at that age, that there is this divide between the whites and the blacks, that if you actually want to climb up the ranks, then you have to adopt or act like the white kids more than the black kids?
I felt that. Oh, absolutely. Like if you want to like get ahead in South Africa, then like being white was, I mean, yeah, like being white, it's such a vague statement, being white, but yeah, definitely adopting and adapting to the white culture. More about the white culture, or the South African white culture. Like you did feel like you were accepted more by the people who were in power if you adopted their culture and adapted their culture. Like, like I remember in high school, my best friend, and she meant so well, but I went to a very white British Anglican school and I was the only Indian in my school, and there were a few black girls and one colored girl, and then the rest were white. I remember she was like, we don't even see you as, you know what, Kaneez, we don't even see you, like we see you as one of us. We don't even see you as like, not one of us. And I've till this day, I'm not sure what one of us means, but I'm guessing white South African. We see you as a white South African. I remember that being such a compliment, because that was the goal. And being like, oh, finally, I'm like part of this system, Yeah. I'm not like an outsider. Yeah, that was the aim of it, to not feel like I was an outsider.
You definitely went copy that on that philosophy, because you used to live in that hospital campus and the National Party used to rain pamphlets down. And you decided, I'm going to start selling these pamphlets to my neighbors.
Listen.
It's all true. Tell me when I'm lying. Stop me when I'm lying.
But like, it wasn't like I was selling white South African propaganda, like which would look horrible. No, listen, they just rained down. The National Party was the white party that was obviously part of the democratic elections. And they, like, back then, like, pollution wasn't a thing. So they would like fly over like with helicopters and just like throw millions of pamphlets all over, like everywhere. And I remember like, this wasn't about being white and promoting white nationalism. No. This was about being Gujarati and being a good businesswoman.
Okay.
Because I was like, look at all this free shit. We need to collect it and make money off of it. So, and by the way, that's my Gujarati side, make money. By the way, do you know what we were going to do with the money? We were going to give it to Jenny Auntie, who ran a little like after daycare school for underprivileged kids. So I ended up collecting R1.20 and I gave it to Jenny Auntie.
Wow.
I collected money for charity. So it wasn't just like...
And we know Jenny Auntie did more with that money than the National Party ever did with those pamphlets being distributed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I helped them. But I got in trouble.
Huh?
Oh, I got in trouble because I sold it to this one kid in the hospital who was... She wasn't even South African black. She was Ugandan. But I sold the pamphlets to her. She actually gave me the most money. She gave me R1. I sent 10 pamphlets to her. And then that night, her dad calls my dad, like upset, being like, why is your daughter selling pamphlets and promoting white nationalist propaganda? And are you guys sending her? And my dad's like, what did you do this afternoon? And I was like,
Jenny Auntie.
I made R1.20 for Jenny Auntie.
Yeah, see?
Like, stop going around promoting the National Party. I was like, I wasn't promoting the National Party.
Just misunderstood, Kaneez. That's what you are.
I was like 8 years old.
8 years old. Start them young. That's what I say.
Yeah. I wasn't promoting. They thought my dad had sent me to promote the political, like to promote the National Party.
The jury's still out on that.
No, it's not still out. They're out. It came back. I'm not guilty.
Selling pamphlets, adopting the white culture. You know what?
I'm not guilty.
A spy for the National Party. But you know what? We'll move past it.